You were listening in on that press conference with the San Francisco first responders. Of course, we didn't get an answer to the big question everyone has, which is whether an emergency vehicle ran over one of the two victims who was killed.
Yeah, you're right, Emily. Although we got a lot of news. I was actually in the press conference just a minute. I just ran out here. The stories some of these firefighters were telling about arriving in the scene were just amazing stories. One after another described what happened when they got the call. They came out here on the scene. One of the first firefighters on the scene, she described arriving, telling her driver of the truck to this ARF vehicle, this ARF at the airport rescue and firefighting vehicle, top heavy with water, racing down the runway. She's warning her driver, we've got to get there in order to save anyone, that they were driving so fast. She gets there, and as they're trying to put out fires, recognizing that the wings are full of fuel, she sees another firefighter charge up the evacuation chutes, and she says, if he can do it, I can do it, and does the exact same thing with all of her firefighting equipment, charging up the evacuation chute, going through the plane, trying to find survivors, putting out fires both below and above, saying the fire was concentrated in the front of the plane. As she worked her way back, and they get to the back, they find some passengers who can't move, and trying to rescue those passengers. These harrowing stories, they belie some of the early reporting that we read about sort of technology helping things and technology guiding the fire hoses into the path. It's really fundamentally came down to firefighters arriving on the scene, putting out the fires and rescuing people before the plane was engulfed in flames. We saw those big holes that emerged in the fuselage of the plane, recognizing the firefighters got there before that damage could be done to passengers on the plane, rescuing those who were trapped and getting them off before the fire got out of control.
Cory, so many, fascinating, amazing, scary human elements to this story, and yet we keep going back to, my mind keeps going back to, whether or not one of these victims could have been hit by an emergency vehicle on the runway. When do you think we might hear an answer to this? We know that the coroner is doing an autopsy right now. He's looking into this very possibility, but it certainly seems that everybody wants to know what exactly happened.
Yeah, and I think there's also going to be a lot of questions going forward in the next half hour when the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, is going to offer a briefing as well. And then we're going to get a lot of the details about how the plane hit, presumably. We're going to find out more about what was going on with the pilots, maybe even some information about the pilots themselves or what they had to say, because fundamentally that's going to tell the rest of the story as to what happened. We have that flight data. We showed you what happened when the plane came in at such a steep descent and missing, hitting the seawall. We're going to know a lot more before the next hour is out. We're going to keep covering that. We'll be here telling you that story as it breaks here from San Francisco International Airport.